He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. You're off the case, Frey. Just like that. Funny though, why this has still caught me off guard. I discovered years ago how different the actual thing is, how far from reality everything I believed in as a dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights, or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork, lots of red tape, and dealing with the politics and bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ends up changing me instead. Serves me right, I guess, for being too idealistic. Probably telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall, as the line finally goes dead. The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
It figures Rebecca will be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this, which seems to happen a lot regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks annoyed. The store I left brewing last night, it's right there in her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now. Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Who wouldn't? I mean, hi.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although, I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm not in the mood.
The bitterness in her voice is not lost on me. But at this point, our friendship, in our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this, very clearly ticked off, makes me believe those things Z-Man says. The part where Rebecca scares him, sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity in it doesn't take away from the downhill turn this conversation is starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a brief way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today. You know that full well.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party?
Oh no.
Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us out in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
I can't even look her in the eye. It's not that I want to avoid them. I did it to keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it's still a party hosted by a person of interest, by a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wants. What? But then Chief showed up, Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just can't be bothered to die off peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons matter. If I was found out, right then and there, hell, if Zach and Rebecca's connections with me were found out, who knows what could happen. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes, in the tight line of her lips, and her furrowed brows. The hurt. This day is just off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. How do I even go about this? Alright, sorry I had to take that call. So, we're off the case. Like, what's the point of keeping it confidential now? Especially with the... Apparently he saw the spook, but thinks otherwise. As Rebecca called her a spook. She isn't black. But anyway, might as well tell her the truth. I mean, what's the point now? When you're off the case. Wait, what? Okay, so that's a little bit. I think it's the same as Luke. I mean, I think it'll be a bigger problem if you keep it, like, confidential.
It's confidential, Rebecca.
Or not? What does that mean straight? I didn't tell her the truth. Okay. Okay, relationship status, so... I guess it... What? Stretch out the truth. It wasn't the truth? Ah well. I wonder how many times I told her that. And not just her. My dad, my mom, Zach and Isabella too, when their questions sometimes call for a quick diversion. To make sure they're all safe. To keep them out of danger. I guess that's something she didn't expect. Oh well. Relationship up. Don't matter. How many times have I told them what's essentially boiled down to mind your own business? My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as television portrays it to be. I had thought so, too, as a child. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? But boy, did I learn. Sometimes we do get daring chases and spectacular busts. Those days when adrenaline runs through our veins makes the bullshit that Hollywood shows feels real. It isn't always as clean cut as that, of course. We can never know how an operation might go. If we're lucky, we put the culprit behind bars. But it's mostly bad news, and if the universe feels a tad bit antagonist, there'll be plenty of closed cases, dead ends, and dead bodies at our disposal. The good guys doesn't always win. Justice isn't always served. Investigation is not looking at a crime scene once to get an eureka moment. It's a sleepless nights at the crime lab with the tech guys. Okay, just how much, Alright, that's almost an hour. Almost an hour, let me make it to an hour at least before I go. It's several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains because I'm sticking out a place. Good on ya. It's frustration. when bureaucracy hinders you from looking into a case any further, or when you know the suspect is guilty, but they get away scot-free on a technicality. It's seeing anger and pain and despair with every case. Facing a crapload of paperwork is what we consider a good day.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
Still, the look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain, it hurts me as well to think I'm the cause of that. It's a familiar one too, something I've seen a lot over the years. I wonder how long it'll take until Zach starts giving me the same one. Or until I hurt Isabella in a way that apologizes won't ever be enough. What a mess. I'm a mess, and it's the people close to me who have to suffer for it.
I guess, if that's the case, there's nothing much I can do about it, can I?
Well, she's more understanding.
You're off being a... what? A hero, I guess? And I shouldn't rag on you for that.
Huh. I expected her to yellow, actually, when I wanted to make that choice, but I guess not. I can never get used to how quick she just forgives me for whatever shitty thing I do. Cause she loves you. Zach and Isabella too. They all been patient with me, unlike I with them. I don't deserve any of them for the kind of person I turned out to be.
I'm hardly a hero, Becca. I'm just... Ash.
I expect a resort. Another one laced with bitterness underneath the light tone she keeps. Instead, she laughs. Half-hearted, with barely a hint of cheer in it, but it's a laugh nonetheless. I honestly don't know what to make of that, what to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it is meant to pierce.
The least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped, kept an ear and an eye out for you. I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, but the mask, she tries so hard for me. Putting up with me like this, I have to give her a smile back, though I imagine it comes off in the same enthusiastic note as hers. It's far easier to slip back to banter when it's like this, to just brush off and set aside everything. At least this way, we wouldn't have to deal with the awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashton.
Shit. I can't stop a weird grin from forming in my lips. She probably still has the photo from that contest, keeps it in her old diary. I can never find either of the two anymore after I've threatened to burn it. I've never brought it up again in the hopes she'll just forget about the whole thing. But the small smile on her face says a lot. Those were good times. A lot simpler, a lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us in the first place. It's a dumb notion to believe in. When nothing ever remains consistent, things will inevitably change through the years. In fact, it already has long ago. Not just with the people we allowed into our respective lives, but also within us as a person, as friends. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Yeah, I have no job, so... I'm just working with my parents, which I like, but they don't appreciate me to be there. When they're gonna retire soon. So, anyway. Not everything has to be, though. Even if it'll take form in a promise I've no idea when I'll be able to fulfill.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
Isn't it over though? The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something, Rebecca, thankfully doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
The situation is already awkward as it is. Prolonging will only make it more, what? Difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already. In some way, the lack of words is already an understanding in itself, that it's better to leave things for now and talk about it when the wounds are no longer fresh in our minds. At least, it's something we both outwardly agree on at the moment. What do you think? Am I gonna get Ash killed too with my first choice? I think so too.
Back to your case again?
About that, I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I have to report to Chief on Monday. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say fuck off, throw my gun and badge at him, become some vigilante, save the day and get my job back. I'll sooner get my ass thrown in jail than do any of that. But it's also not in my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just idle about. Besides, Professor Clark has to know about this whole Luke Wright thing.
Yeah, I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
The other matter she mentioned last night specifically. The same stuff Zachary has also been trying to tell me. Things even the news have been blasting out to the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning, all deaths with the same mundus, blamed on a single serial killer. Or is it still the case?
Dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained in the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxembourg police.
Frankly, there's only one lead we have on this at the moment. All of the crime scenes where the victims have been found have also been vandalized with same message as that letter. It is something, though nothing substantial to go by. Granted, I can bring up the letter Isabella found in the mansion, but chances are they will just pass it off as a coincidence. And coincidence is never substantial, never enough in my work. There must be something we haven't seen yet, and the culprit has simply exploited those urban legends to hide his crimes. Relatively speaking, we're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. I'm not even the one heading this investigation, yet look at me treat it as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Even LPD doesn't have an inking on what we're supposed to be looking for here. Although all three of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to go into that line of thinking right now. Or for now. Particularly with how much every news outlet has blown this up. Not yet. Not until I exhausted every logical reasoning and argument I can throw at it. To tell the truth though, I don't know how to take all of this anymore. But I've already given Isabella my word. It'll bother me more if I don't follow up on a promise I made to her. And after Rebecca's claims last night, I'm not so sure now if the decision's meant to pacify or a part of me is just desperate to put a stop to these deaths. It also goes to say that there won't be enough sarcasm in the world if what they're saying is true. Isabella's laughter already echoes in my head, in fact.
Figures. What else can it be?
Laughter? What do you mean laughter?
It's not another case. It's something else. That issue Isabella mentioned yesterday morning. I'm sure you remember, you were there.
Well, at least you're not neglecting all your friends.
Becca, I promised her I'll...
She doesn't wait for me to finish. Wow. With a roll of her eyes, she turns around and shuts the door in my face. I have no idea what I said this time, but...
I probably deserve that.
We're just gonna have to mend this some other time. By then, her temper's sure to have cooled out significantly. Hopefully. ... For now, I can't laze around. Gotta attend to things that matter more. Professor Clark first, delivered the bad news, then that issue with BRC and Isabella. Maybe I'll also drop by Zach's, check on him, hear what he has to say. He's also read that damn letter. Has also been saying odd things about a bunch of photographs. I might as well, while I'm here, playing a paranormal detective? Or is it the supernatural? I can't remember. This certainly isn't something I'll bother with on my free day. I'm going to be a laughingstock at the precinct. If anyone finds out I'm considering this as a possible angle for these murders, Inspector Abigail and Officer Coral mostly. Whatever, I mean. It wouldn't hurt anyone if I tried to get to the bottom of this. No one has to know, either. If nothing comes out of it, then good. Everyone can shut up about stupid curses, and we can finally get back on track with our lives, to more important stuff. If there is something...
Are you two done?
What? Isabella? Her voice instantly jerks me away. Or, wait, jerks me out of my thoughts, and my head snaps up in search of her. There's a moment of confusion when I don't see her familiar ponytail about, only to find her standing behind the door to her apartment seconds later. Isabella holds it open, though only slightly, as if to hide from anyone who might happen to pass by. This early and on a lazy weekend, I doubt anyone will. But from the gap and what little light there is behind her, I can make out the appearance of someone who has just clearly gotten off from bed. Hair in complete disarray, eyes still heavy with sleep, and a small pout on her lips. I can tell why she doesn't want to be seen by anyone yet. She hasn't even gotten out of her pajamas. ... I look away long before my sense of decorum kicks in. Aw. We might be friends. I'll even dare say we've grown closer over the years, but that doesn't extend beyond the bounds of prosperity. Or whatever. Christ, even Rebecca never greets early visitors in her sleep clothes. Though maybe it's our fault why she's up this early, checking the ones making the ruckus outside her room. Still, heat makes a slow crawl up my neck, one that I quickly downplay with a solid cough.
Isabella, you're up early.
Hi. Lame.
No, I'm not. I'm usually up at this hour. You're the one that usually sucks at getting up early.
Says the person who looks like she's just fallen out of bed.
Instead of the usual quip, she simply looks away. Averts her gaze to some point beside her, and although it only flashes briefly across her face, an expression of hurt flickers in her eyes. It disappears the second she turns her attention back to me, but that fleeting moment has sent a worried churn in my stomach. I've seen it on her plenty of times before, just never in a manner that unsettles. It feels, I don't know, off this time? I didn't say anything wrong, did I?
Hey, are you...
Anyway, Was that Becca with you? You both sound like Mama and Papa when they fight. You're awfully loud. If we get another memo from the landlady, I'm asking the guard to ban you from ever entering this place.
Ha!
Me? Becca's the one almost shouting.
Yeah, well, she lives here. You don't. You have no excuse. You're the suspicious-looking person.
Thanks. Glad at least one person appreciates how I pretty up this place.
Ha ha ha.
Don't flatter yourself. This place would be so much better without having to see your face every few days.
She follows it up with another pout. But her ruffled appearance, particularly how puffy her eyes are, I noticed just now, take away from the intimidating aspect she's trying to exhibit. In the first place, she's not the kind who looks terrifying. Rebecca's more than capable of pulling that off. Isabella? Not so much. She's going to have to try harder than that. There are times when she can and does, though only on a bad day and when she means it. Really, right now, she just appears more like an angry puppy. I might have laughed had it not given me another nagging sense that something is definitely wrong with her. What? Has she been crying earlier? That is worrying. She rarely does that. The only time it happened? The one time I've ever seen her genuinely tear up over something? I think it was after Devlin Court, the night at the bridge. I want to ask. She seems determined to keep it to herself though, and the moment she senses the question coming, she deflects. Changes the subject, cuts me off, faster than I can weave two words into a proper sentence.
Belle, did something?
About yesterday, Ash. The things we talked about. Do you think we can take a look at it today?
We? I never said you're coming with me. Don't worry, I didn't forget about it. You'll be the first to know if I find anything.
No, I want to go with you. I'll be ready in a few. This won't take long.
Isabella, you really don't have to. I can handle it on my own. You'll just...
Slow me down.
I won't get in the way, I promise. Besides, maybe I can help. You know, if there are files you want to check.
I don't like what she's implying. It's true LPD's having a hard time with this, but taking Isabella with me, it's out of the question. Under normal circumstances.
You're the one who's going to get in trouble if you do that.
You said it yourself. You need information, and I can help you get that. And it's not like it matters anymore. I just don't want to stand around doing nothing today.
There it is again. The slight shift in her eyes, the mild crease forming between her eyebrows, and the mild slump in her shoulders, while she crosses her arms tightly around herself. Like she's shielding herself from whatever painful thing there is out here. I have plenty of reasons why I shouldn't let her tag along. First and foremost, she's a civilian. Second, I have no concrete plan of action yet. I'm going into this blind. No matter how I look at it, it's simply better for her to just wait, without being dragged into what might be another one of my failures. Her assumptions might be a dead end, for all we know. But seeing that expression on her, hearing her speak those words out loud in a desperate, almost pleading tone, I can't bring myself to say no. So I allow it. I give in, because right there, I see myself in her. The person who doesn't want to stay idle, who doesn't want to think of the problems haunting him.
All right, 5 minutes.
What? You're timing me?
Well, I can't wait forever. I'm a very busy guy. 4 minutes and 45 seconds, Isabella.
What?
I hate you so much.
4 minutes and 30 seconds, 29, 28. I'd hurry if I were you.
Ugh, you're awful! I hope you never get a girlfriend.
She slams the door right after, although my chuckles, the laughter, and the lightness of it linger. With her, those have always come easy somehow. Even as the echo of it dies down, and only the ghost of a smile remains as I stare at the closed door of her apartment.
It's not like I'm looking for anyone else.
Oh. I want to tell her. It's not because I can't. I won't. I'm the one who has chosen not to, until I fixed myself, until I found myself underneath all that guilt and those lies I've been telling all these years. I knew it! I knew it! You like her! You love her! So easy! Because no matter how heavy the weight of these feelings are, I am not yet worthy of them. Of her. Until then, little words and gestures are the only things I can offer. Minor stuff, such as digging deeper into this thing with BRC in order to ease her worries. I'm not even sure if this will bear any fruit. Unlike with the firm case, which I already have proper leads on, I'm just going by her word on this. Speaking of the Luxborn firm case, I still have to inform the professor. The apprehension's there for sure. I made a lot of promises to the man, and I would have preferred to tell him in person and not over the phone. But it's better for him to hear it from me ASAP rather than from an outside source. The railings offer a steady brace while I wait for him to answer. I like to think I can do this without losing my nerve. My grip on the bars surely tightens though, once the call connects and his voice rings from the other end.
Ashton.
Not running today, Professor?
He's usually at the park on late Saturday mornings, as long as it isn't raining cats and dogs. Keeps him young and healthy, he says, and he's certainly fit for a man of his age with a sedentary job. Now is a good time as any to get a few miles in. We've been having rather odd, pleasant sunny days, as opposed to the usual gloomy, rainy Luxborn ones after all. If you want a run on the pavement, rather than on the treadmill, or without going home sopping wet, might as well take advantage of the strange weather.
Ashton.
Wait, what? That's not what you... Okay. Oh no, not today. He's definitely at the usual place though. Cheers and laughter, likely from children and families, filtered through the receiver. During days like this, I can easily picture the sound of it, lending the park with a kind of warm atmosphere. I tend to avoid it precisely because of that. No use dwelling on the could-haves when it's already been done. Mom's doing well with her career, Dad's also fine the last time I visited, although neither remarried. They're both content with their lives as it is. I'm probably the only one still caught up with it, hence my aversion. But all in all, it's still a pleasant sight to see, if you're the kind who takes joy in such sights, just like Professor Clark is.
Just thought I'd enjoy the nice weather before it takes a turn for the norm again. And to what do I owe the pleasure?
The guy certainly seems happy right now. In any case, I almost don't want to break the news to him. His cheerful tone, I don't want to ruin that. But it's better to get this off as quick, as long as he doesn't shoot the messenger. He's not the type. However, long-held resentment can change a person, even someone as mild-mannered as the professor.
I was hoping to talk to you about the case.
I suppose I'm just a downer today. As soon as I say those words, he immediately pauses, the lightness in his voice gone in an instant. Every time we talked about this in the past, he does that. He's probably trying to gauge the situation based on the tone of my voice. Perhaps it's a good thing I'm delivering this news through the phone. Who knows what he'll see in my face and my mannerism. The art of keen observation, I learned it from the man. It goes to say he already has an idea what this might be about from my manner of speaking alone.
You aren't in trouble, are you?
For a second, I hesitate, looking at the dirt beneath my shoes, but I manage, eventually. After a long, ragged draw of breath, I pick up where I left off, though still fumbling with my phrasing.
Well, I'm in a bit of trouble, if you can call it that.
Ashton.
He only assumes that tone when there's a repentant at his heels.
But I'm not in danger or anything.
You've said that same excuse a million times before, Detective Inspector. That exhausted rasp in your voice tells a different story.
It's nothing like what you're thinking. Don't worry. I was just... I was taken off the Luxborn firm case.
I expect anger, frustration, maybe even disappointment. But all he gives me is a small sigh of relief.
Is that so? Well, at least you aren't in danger. Liz wouldn't be too happy if she heard you right now.
Liz. Aunt Liz, she insisted I call her. His late wife. Oh! A sweet, tempered woman by so many standards. Never blessed with kids and contented herself with simply managing their newly opened bakery. So, is she the woman that was killed? Maybe that explains why his hate for the Luke, the Wrights. But she's the closest I had to a mom for the few years I had known her. The professor, too. In the absence of my own parents in my life, the two filled the ache their divorce left in me.
Believe me, you'd get an earful. You don't want to show up on her doorstep looking like you haven't slept a wink either.
How many years has it been since? 9? 10? I can still remember it vividly. Two men, primly dressed, briefcases in hand, and a stern look on each of their faces. They had been a frequent visitor to the bakery in the months prior, something about the lot being a prime property in downtown Luxborn. I think they were hoping to settle a deal with them, but neither of the couple gave in to their demands. Why should they? That quaint little shop was a dream for them after all. Aunt Liz sent me home early that night, after a fruitless wait for the professor. The next morning, news of a bakery razed to the ground had spread across the whole city. One casualty. A few weeks later, the property was sold to Wright Enterprise. A fucking hotel now stands in its place. Of course, an investigation was launched after the incident. The name Luke Wright was briefly at the center of it, but with the lack of any evidence, the case ultimately went cold. The professor hides it well. However, I can tell he hates that man to this day. It won't be too much of a stretch to think that he blames Luke Wright for every tragedy that happens in the city. He has never blamed me though, when I'm as equally responsible. I knew something's off the moment those men stepped inside the shop. I could have saved her that night. I could have prevented anything from happening to her, called for help or whatever. I didn't. So it continues to eat at me until today. The guilt. The Luxborn firm case would have been our chance at reopening that old case if we can prove Luke Wright of his crimes. Instead, we're back to square one. Yet all he has for me are words of comfort. To think he can still be this concerned about me after my carelessness, after I've broken another promise a second time. People never cease to amaze me.
You might think that you have failed as an officer. Or maybe you think that you have failed me. And you know more deserves to be tried in high court. It's him. But I'm glad nothing's happened to you while you were working on this. That's what's most important. I'd hate to get news like that again.
He stops. I imagine a thoughtful look flashing in his eyes as he thumbs the wedding band on his ring finger before he continues. Another habit. He has never removed it since that day, has never thought once to remarry, even when he managed to continue with his life and return to some resemblance of normalcy. It's his way of honoring her, I suppose, when he can't even bring the man responsible for his loss to justice. Needless to say, some people are just hard to forget.
It's not like another death. Yours or even his will bring back my wife.
Silence falls between us afterwards. I don't quite know what to say after that, really. Should I apologize? Show some sympathy? Going into this, I should have thought of something other than just breaking the news to him. As it is, it seems the only thing we can do is feel sorry for each other's misfortunes.
I apologize too, for putting you up to this.
In another occasion, under different circumstances, I might have accepted that, but
You didn't have to, but you've already done more than any officer who has investigated this. So don't worry about this, old man. I know your department's people all have their hands full recently too. What with the upsetting news we've been getting as of late. Deaths almost every day. I'm not entirely sure if that has anything to do with the other. It seems too big even for someone like him. But if this is that man's doing...
Professor, please.
maybe if things around me hasn't started going beyond my control, the letter, the mansion, the supposed curse behind those, I'll still be quick to blame it all on the bastard too. But as much as I want to keep holding him responsible for it, to add another to his list of sins, it might not be the case. Agreeing will only cut a deeper wound on the professor. I don't want him to keep clinging to this resentment for much longer. He has already gone through so many years of it. This kind of anger is the sort that blinds people. Despite his reassurances, the bitterness still seeps into every syllable he utters. It's one thing for me to act like this. It's painful to watch someone I've considered a second father to go down this path.
Please don't apologize. It's really alright. I can try to get it back on Monday when I meet with the chief. No promises, but if not, I'll make sure to keep an ear out for any news. Chief said he's passing it on to a senior officer. I should be able to catch a few tidbits every once in a while. But I swear I won't just give up on this. I'll do everything in my power to get Aunt Liz's case reopened for you.
A promises. Again, a bad habit at this point. I wish I can do more for him. All this time, I've always prided myself for being the one who always know. I'm not so sure anymore. It seems to be far from the case now. Because suddenly, aside from Wright and the murders plaguing the city, I have ghosts and curses to worry about. Those are things completely out my depth. I'll ask the professor, that's his area, but from a cultural and psychological standpoint. But how much of an insensitive jerk can I be to ask for assistance while giving him none of my own? I don't even know how much of this I can look into. Before, these are just the stuff of legends, stories. Professor Clark's right in some way. This will be so much easier if Luke Wright is to be blamed for all this. At least finding evidence for that will be a breeze for me, and I'll be all too happy to put him in the place he deserves. Although, if he is in any way also competent to what's happening, legalities have my hands tied. But maybe that's my fault. I might have missed the ticket to closing the case once and for all last night. If only I'd done a better job of during the party. But then, the commotion. There was Hannah Wright and Rebecca distracting me from my purpose too. I'll include that gate crasher standing between them as well, even though it's only for a moment. So many things have gone wrong last night that I've lost my focus and... Hold on.
This isn't a prank! I saw something!
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, let's, I'm gonna save this here, as creepy as it is. Because I gotta head to work, take a shower, and everything. So, when we come back, we'll continue on with Ash. So, have a good day, everyone.